even by mere fact saying it is English has made it non-Nigerian, because no Nigerian language bears English. So there's a paucity in the number of English language teachers in schools. But Kenya also has English, and Kenya has indigenous languages just like Nigeria, but they have developed their own lingua franca, which is Swahili.
Hello, welcome to the Education Podcast by Edu. I'm your host, Abdul. In this edition, we are being joined by Professor Adejoke Jibowo of the Department of Arts and Social Sciences Education at Olabisi Onabanjo University, Iwoye.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing me in.
Welcome. All right. First of all, we have the issue of the falling or declining standard in spoken and written English in Nigeria. What are the factors you believe are responsible for this?
Okay, there are a lot of factors that are responsible for the supposed poor usage, poor speaking and use of the language, English. But the key ones that I want to touch on are number one, the teaching and learning of the language is not been really, the classroom is not really linked with research outcomes in methods and methodology. So it's like the classroom is one side, researchers and their reports are on the other side. There is no enough synergy between research outcomes and the teaching and learning of the language in schools. That has been empirically verified of recent. Teachers do not really, they're not really aware, they're not too aware of developments, innovations in the teaching of the language. Teachers of English language, apart from being few, relatively, there are few, there are not many out there. There's a paucity in the number of English language teachers in schools. Then you also have large classes. You see, arising from that is that you have large classes where you do not have adequate hands to handle. Even where you have teachers, many of our teachers do not really, they still rely on the old methods, old ways. Teachers are still relying on the old, relatively old ways, the ways in which they were taught, in which they were brought up. They're still using that. And we really need to be updated. We need to change, positive change in ensuring that the learners of today are taken through the language in a way that will help their better understanding. But the fundamental, which I always stand for, which I always emphasize, is this: we have to, true to ourselves, English language is only a second language, not a lingua franca in Nigeria. English is our L2, it should remain as our second language, but properly and well taught and learned in such a way that the average Nigerian child learning the language knows the difference, the features, the characteristics between English and his or her mother tongue. So there is this interference that's usually coming when you're talking of speaking, reading and writing, speaking and writing the language, especially the influence of the child's mother tongue or the first language comes in. That's another factor. It comes in. But where the child is not properly taught, is not taught to be able to distinguish between the features, the characteristic features in English, which are not the same in, for example, Yoruba. Such a child, such a student, such a learner mixes the two, and that is what we call interference in language study. Take, for instance, Yoruba. In Yoruba, you can say shoshi, shoshi, shoshi. But English says church, 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 CH, church. You say 5. The V there is sound, not sound. So if the learner does not know the difference in speaking, the child could be say 5, Yoruba, so on and so forth. So that is one. That is interference between the learner's first language or the mother tongue and English, which is the second language. So my position is that English language teachers should be trained in such a way that they teach English language as second language, bearing in mind that the learners they are teaching have one language, which is called either first or the mother tongue. You don't teach them as if they are monolingual. As long as we don't have any other language we can use in schools, in offices, in educational centers, and all of them, language of official interactions in Nigeria. It should be taught and learned in such a way that the learner knows clearly the features in this second language, which are different from the ones in his or her first language, and then use them appropriately. And this is one of the things that is affecting them in the school certificate exams. Chief examiners reports usually make reference and notes about this thing.
There have been efforts towards codifying what we call Nigerian English based on the understanding that there are Nigerians today that the only language they've learned or the only language they speak is English, rather than any of the languages that we say are native to Nigeria. So what do you say about such efforts?
There are efforts, and I commend all efforts at solving the language question in Nigeria. But personally, what I have found out is that, one, the language of the child is very important. Schools or Nigerians, generally, education system, we should teach students, we should teach our learners English language in such a way that they can use it appropriately in appropriate places at appropriate times, different from their mother tongue. They should be so clear as to the features of English language, which are not the same as those in their L1. And then I don't believe that we need to develop clones in English. You know, clones. You want to clone them to become English in nature. No, we don't need to clone. We don't need to teach our children or our learners to be English, to become English themselves, but to become users of the English, of the language, in a very appropriate and correct way. I commend those that are working on NE, Nigerian English, but personally, from my research records and what I have done so far, I don't think there's a need for us to dissipate our energy on developing Nigerian English. Rather, we should identify 3 major Nigerian languages, which are what we call Wasobia. That is Hausa, Igbo, and Yoruba, put together, which had been started in the 70s or so, or even earlier. People have been working on it. The likes of Banjo, Ayobanjo, Bangboshe, and all of them. If a project proved that the language of the child is very important in the child learning the second language itself. And my inaugural lecture was centered on this, and I'm still, that's my position, that I don't think we need to develop Nigerian English, but we need to keep learning English as a second language, since we do not have a lingua franca now. But we keep using it, teaching it, but not degrading or abandoning our indigenous languages. To me, we should develop both. We should develop we should encourage the development of our indigenous languages such a way that it can, in the future, be brought out to become Nigeria's lingua franca, as you have in East Africa. My dream is that Wasobia will be brought up, will be developed in the future to the level of Swahili, as Swahili is in East Africa and Kenya. The example that I have seen. It's so interesting. You know, in the conference I attended, some of them are colleagues from Kenya and the environs. You know, they presented their papers in Swahili. They were only interpreting to us. They told us Swahili is their their national language, but Kenya also has English, and Kenya has indigenous languages just like Nigeria, but they have developed their own lingua franca, which is Swahili. Everybody speaks it. Children speak it. Adults speak it. Whether or not you have been to any school, you speak it. In the market, we went to places, and Swahili, you either understand Swahili or English. And something that really struck me was that colleagues, professors, some of my colleagues with whom we were in that conference, even there's one with whom I collaborated, you know, one of them presented their papers in Swahili, and they told us that is the way they do it, and they were only interpreting to us. You know, so that is a kind of level I am advocating, and I am so passionate about. I found out that there's nothing as good in educating the child as the language with which that child was born.
Okay. It's been argued that English is chauvinistic. Is there any way to curb the chauvinism of English in Nigeria?
Of course, English is. Yes, English is. But can you blame anybody? Can you blame them? We crave it. Many Nigerian elites do not even want their children to go near their native languages. And then we want to be there. We want to be in their places. We want to be in their countries. We want to live there. If you look at what the recent trends now in Nigeria, many youths are checking out. They want to get out by all means, and that has to do with the economic situation. It had been there. It's been there for long, but it's more now. The crave for checking out of Nigeria, because they believe out there they could have better opportunity, better life, living, better this, better that. So if you want to study, they subject you to writing tests and all of them, tests for which you pay. And after even passing the test, IELTS, you pass it, you have to use it within 2 years. And youth keep struggling to go to Canada, to go to UK, to go to in the time of struggling, the expiry date, the thing has expired. And they will need to start struggling again to pay for another. It's chauvinistic. It is chauvinistic. And I am of the view that we are part of the Commonwealth. Nigeria is part of the, and we are an English-speaking nation. Personally, I think the Canadians, the Europeans, all of them do not need to impose that exam on candidates, intending candidates who want to go and study in the UK. In those days, and not too long ago, Nigeria used to be a bona fide member of the Commonwealth states now. And English, maybe on paper, but I don't know. So I don't think it's an overemphasis when we say English has been so chauvinistic. I think we too should think inward. Why are we craving? Why is it that there's this urge for us to pass the exam, for us to, you write every exam here, you cannot move forward even within Nigeria without having a credit pass in English language. Yeah, but again, I think Nigerians, we and our government should look into how to make this place welcoming and accommodating to the youths. If it continues like this, my brother, do you think in the next 10 years, are we not going to become like Canada, that is where they are looking for workforce people to come and work in their industries or something? All of these places they are running to. Don't you think we can come to that level where you don't have youth, don't have youth in around? Where do we go? What do we do?
All right, man. So just in line with that, what you just said about the chauvinism of English, can we now assume that people attempting to pass the IELTS or TOEFL or any of the such English tests around the world that are imposed on non-native speakers or people they call second language speakers, in some cases, can we say that it's a factor of the poor quality of our English our products learned English in Nigeria and failed several times before passing? Is it a factor of the poor quality of the teaching, or what? Or why do they have to fail it several times?
Well, I can say maybe yes or no. Yes, maybe for some, but no, not for all. When I said no, it's not in all cases that people don't understand. I mean, can't use the language very well. Colleagues, people in English language in Nigeria, Nigerian universities, higher schools, and even secondary schools. There are places, international places where you will meet, and we present papers, academic papers, research works, research outcomes, even in the UK. And it is this English we use. Amongst them, it is the English in which we write our papers and we communicate with them. So that's why I said that people not passing the international language test may not be totally as a result of its poor teaching and learning here. Yes, that may be a factor, but it's not the total one. Instead of subjecting candidates, intending candidates to all of these tests, I think our international partners or colleagues or language-based people should at least, say, okay, if you score credit 4, for instance, you score it and you grade it, and you say, if you have this, we want to take you that you understand the language. Or you score B, instead of subjecting everybody to the test. Actually, so that's what I'm thinking.
That option is available already. And that option is available already. That option is available already. those are seeking admission into for undergraduate programs abroad, many universities accept WAEC results. But because many of our people are not aware of this, or they do not challenge the status quo on ground in many universities, they are still being subjected to all this TOEFL and IELTS. But those that are aware of it, those that are familiar with it, have that option available for them. If you learn in a school, in a country where English is a medium of instruction, you're exempted from IELTS and all that. But because many of our competitors are not aware of this, they still submit themselves to all these tests. Yes, yes.
I am not aware of that too.
The option is actually available in many universities.
You mean there are institutions that exempt Nigerians from writing the international language?
Several institutions do. Several institutions do. But many of their government, where they sometimes require it is when we were seeking government government funding, they would say that they want to test your proficiency in English. But generally, a number of universities exempt Nigerians because Nigerians learned English for at least 12 years. Let's say that they're seeking undergraduate,
yes.
before going into the university.
Yes.
And those for postgraduate programs are also exempted. They just need a letter from their university confirming that their degree was taught in English. That's what they just need. They don't need to write any IELTS or any other test of proficiency exam. And from there, I would just like us to look into some other issues. Clearly, we've been able to establish that English in Nigeria is dominant over the other languages, and there is no way we can really curb that because of the globalization and all that we have today. In schools, in various universities, there is this use of English imposed on everybody as well, as part of this chauvinism that we're talking about. So how can we, what reforms do you think are needed in the use of English programs in universities or higher institutions?
Incidentally, I just happened to be part of, because I was a student in the University of Ibadan at that time, and it just happened that my supervisor asked me to go to that workshop in 1990. The workshop was organized by ODA, Overseas Development Agency, and NUC in Nigeria. So the workshop was held in University of Ibadan. And I just was there. I was a postgraduate student, and because I was studying English language in the faculty, and so my supervisor asked me to go there. So I participated for about 5 days or so. The people from UK came. One Professor Smith led that group and came. And then the discussion was centered on improving the communicative competence of Nigerian students. At the end of the whole thing, what came out of it was the emergence of the use of English in tertiary. It first began in universities, then it extended to the polytechnics, then to the colleges of education. So throughout in the federation, all higher institutions, in all higher institutions, the use of English had been in place and is still there. And they are even compulsory. In the beginning, they were not, no units were attached to them, but later the units were attached to them, and they have always been compulsory. And the purpose was, had been improving, causing a kind of improvement in the use of the language. You want to ask me if it had been had been successful or it had really done what it was set out to do. Well, honestly, I cannot say, except because I haven't really done any research on it. So I don't have any empirical data to support my claim. I can't claim its success or otherwise, but my observation and interaction and experience with my students is that it would appear that those courses are just, they have become courses. They have become, I'm not sure the students really take them seriously. I'm not sure. So you want to ask me why the use of English in schools? Well, it's still the same thing. The purpose is to help the communicative competence of our students or learners, especially at the tertiary, because they are, of a truth, there were reports from employers, organizations, exam bodies, and all of them, both local and international, trying to lament the poor state, the poor use of the language among the users of that time. Well, maybe of that time or even still now. So, and the purpose of bringing about, the federal government spent a lot on that program with the ODA, Overseas Development Agency of the British Council. We must have spent, in collaboration with NUC, spent some huge investment on the program. So the purpose is just to cause a kind of improvement in the use of the language. So that's what I can say on that.
So the results of the SSCE for 2021, both for WAEC and NECO are already out at this time. So, but we notice that there is somehow what they call it success, unprecedented success in the exams. There's many people passed, and we're having up to 81% in case of WAEC. I can't remember that of NECO. So can we say that this is a true reflection of the improvement in the products or the products that write the exams, or just a product of examination practices?
I just read the reports released by WAEC, and I was thrilled. About 83% or something, I can't remember now. Very inspiring and encouraging figures, trying to say that in the compulsory subjects, the candidates did as much as this. Also, I didn't really, excuse me, I have not really looked at those figures, but the figures appeared better than what we've been having, the reports. And I was thinking within me that, that's encouraging. That's encouraging. But, well, since it is WAEC that is saddled with the responsibility of examining at that level, and the body has done its work seriously and has come up with such reports, I think we can take it that there seems to be a hope that maybe there is a genuine kind of shift, positive shift in the direction of better performance in the subjects, especially English language and mathematics, I think. So, well, no doubt, teachers You know, there are trainings and trainings and trainings, retrainings going on. And some state governments too appear to be waking up in encouraging teachers. With all due respect and honor, I like to give it to Lagos, because there in Lagos, well, nationally, there are associations, but there is this one association of English language teachers in Nigeria. We call it ELTAN. It's been very active since 2019. Since 2019, it's been very, seriously training, involving their teachers in conferences, annual conferences. There is the national level, national one that is also, in Sokoto, for instance, the association thrives, and it's been thriving all over the place. But I know that of Lagos, ELTAN in Lagos, English language teachers, you can check. ELTAN in Lagos of late has been, in fact, since 2008 or so, it's been very active. Even the states, the Ministry of Education recognizes that association as being one of the vibrant and active subject associations in the state. And I think it is true, because I am involved. I'm involved with, with what they do. So they just held the this year's conference in October. Was it October? September 14th, around September, yes. So maybe, that could, maybe, that kind of, and that goes on in ELTAN and ELTAN Nigeria and ETA Africa, that is English Teachers Association Africa. There's a lot of work they are doing, and I believe it's having a positive influence on maybe the way the language is being taught in the recent times, which appears to be showing in the performance of the candidates. So it may not be too far from that. That I know.
Earlier in the course of the conversation, you talked about the disconnect between the research outcomes and the teachers in the classroom regarding how the performance of students have not been improving in the case of English. You said that earlier. How can there be a synergy between the findings of research and what is happening in the classrooms? And maybe policy, or maybe what we have at the NRDC, what they do at the NRDC, and all this. How can there be connection among all this?
Thank you very much for that question. It's also a passion in me, because of recent, that was an issue that was discussed at a level in the University of Ibadan. Discussing particularly about this subject, that a lot of research works are on, the research outcomes are on bookshelves, useful ones, but those who are to implement them are either not even aware of them, or they are not even, they are not using them. And so the thought was there should be a kind of synergy, in different climes apart from here. I don't know how NERDC, honestly, I don't know so much about its operations, and I don't want to go into that area. But I think, like it is done in other climes. For example, each state of the federation has a Ministry of Education. And I want to say that the Ministry of Education, especially in the area of curriculum development, curriculum innovation, curriculum implementation, there should be a kind of connection between that, the ministry and each, especially the higher institutions, universities, or wherever that are in the area. There should be a close, connection between what the academia, what the academic people produce, come up with from their research works, and into the, disseminating it into the ministry, for the ministry to use those empirical data in planning and in curriculum development, curriculum innovation, and implementation. So I am thinking that this synergy should be more. I'm not saying it's not there, I don't know, but I feel there should be, for example, in this place where we are a state university, my thinking is that the research works that we do here should be tailored towards what Ogun State needs in terms of educational development. The things that we do that will cause innovation and development in education there should be a way by which they get to the Ministry of Education, and the curriculum, the planners, all those that are there. There is a synergy between them and the faculty or the university, and then so that innovations can come up in bringing up, enhancing the curriculum for the year in, year out, whereby this development will be felt in the classroom.
I don't know whether you would like to tell us some other activities you do beyond teaching at the university there.
Well, I'm involved in teacher training, especially English language teachers. Then I teach communication. I'm interested in communication, and especially communication in teaching. I am passionate about, the teacher being able to really communicate in the class, because it is when communication takes place in the class that teaching actually takes place. So I'm also involved in youth educational developments, youth moral development. I have a passion for youths and children, steering clear of all vices, things that destroy lives. I encourage youths and children to be away from anything that can destroy their lives or destroy the community. So I am involved in youth and children development.
Thank you very much. So we've been on with Professor Adejoke Jibowo of the Olabisi Onabanjo University, Iwoye, and so far we've been looking into issues around English language in Nigeria at various levels of education. So we hope that you join us on subsequent editions of the Education Podcast. Till next time, I remain your host, Abdulsalam Amo. Bye.